Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen. Today we are going to do a recipe that is super simple, that for some reason I've never done on the channel before. And that is a pickled red onion. Now, I just put down 3/4 of a cup of water, and I'm gonna match that with the exact same amount, 3/4 of a cup of apple cider vinegar. And I'm gonna pour both of those into this little pan, and I wanna bring this up to not quite a boil, but I want to bring it up to at least a simmer because I need to dissolve in this salt. And this is a super simple formula. You want equal parts water and vinegar, and you can use any vinegar that you want. White wine vinegar, red wine vinegar, apple cider vinegar, just plain white distilled vinegar, pineapple vinegar, any vinegar that you want, as long as the acid content is at least 5%. Now to this, I'm going to add salt. And that was 1.5 teaspoons of coarse salt. So for every cup of liquid, that is the combination of the water and the vinegar, you want 1 teaspoon of coarse salt. And you can just vary that up and down. So you can scale this to as many onions as you want to do at a time, or just down to 1 onion like I'm doing today. And I usually only do 1 onion. This isn't a pickle in the sense that it's something that you want to preserve for a very long time. It's something that you want to make and eat quickly. You don't really want this hanging around on a shelf or in your fridge for months at a time. It'll last if you want it to, but really it's meant to be eaten quickly. Now, that's all you need for the pickling liquid. But I'm going to add some Telecherry peppercorns, and that's probably about a dozen peppercorns. I'm just going to drop that in and let those steep with the water and the vinegar to get that flavor all the way through. So I'll give that a stir just to help dissolve the salt a little bit. And while that heats, we will slice up our onion. So, top and tail a red onion. I'm also going to put in some jalapenos. And I cut it in half and peel it away. And now that it's peeled, I just cut a wedge out of the root end. And then I like to slice across like this and keep them really thin. Okay, the onion is done. So now the jalapenos. And I don't take the seeds out of the jalapenos. I just cut them in rings, fairly thin, and I leave the seeds in. And just before I started chopping, I put on a kettle to boil, and that's just come up to a boil now. So I'm going to move the onions and the jalapenos into this glass jug. And I'm going to pour the boiling water over top. And I'm only going to leave this maybe a minute or two. You're not really trying to cook them, you're just looking to heat them up, soften them a little bit, and this is going to make them a little more receptive to pulling in the vinegar and the salt when you pour that over in a couple of minutes. Now, I'll just drain the onions, get rid of as much of the water as we possibly can, and I'm going to transfer these to a mason jar. Now, this isn't going to be long-term pickling. This is going to go straight into the fridge. I'm not canning this. We're pickling it. And those are two different things. They're related, but they're different. So the onions go in here now, and the onions are hot, so be careful. Just don't stick your hand in and grab them because you might burn yourself. So let's get a spoon and do this right. Okay, so I've got a funnel, and in go the onions. And the jalapenos, and you could add other things in here if you wanted to, other vegetables. Wow, there's a thunderstorm. Do you hear the thunder? You could put other things in here. You could put in carrots. I know a lot of people like to put in carrots. Pretty much all you need are the onions, the vinegar, the water, the salt. All of the other flavorings are just what's going to make it special to you at home. Okay, onions are in there. Now we've got our brine or pickling solution. And we just pour that over top. It's hot, it's simmering, it's steaming. And it all goes in. And you just want to tamp this down so everything is below the brine. And I've got a cocktail muddler, which is great for this. Now you don't really want to crush it, you just want to make sure that it's under the brine. And if a little bit's poking up, it's going to be okay. And you can very easily, because now that you know that ratio of 1-to-1 water vinegar and 1 teaspoon of salt for every cup of liquid, you can add a little bit more and top this up. Or you could fill this jar, do 2 onions, whatever your preference is. Anyway, so this is going to sit on the counter until it comes to room temperature, and then I'm going to stick it in the fridge and we'll taste it tomorrow. Okay, so these have been in the fridge for, I'd say, 15 or 16 hours, and that's all it takes to pickle the onions and the jalapenos. Pickling doesn't need to be this giant day-long affair. You can do it really quickly, and you don't have to do a huge amount. This is something that you can have in your fridge all the time, that you can have on hand for sandwiches, tacos, barbecued pulled pork. It's an absolute necessity for most barbecue. Brisket, you have to have it with brisket. So that is wonderful. All the harshness from the onion is gone. It's got all of these fantastic flavors. You get a little bit of the black pepper in there. You get a little bit of the jalapeno, a little bit of heat that sort of lifts the whole thing up. Absolutely fantastic. I would encourage you to always have these on hand in your fridge. Now, these are going to show up in the next couple of weeks in a taco recipe that we're going to do that was inspired by our trip to Mexico City last summer. We're going to use our homemade chorizo and some potatoes and make kind of this breakfast taco that we had that was absolutely fantastic. This is also going to show up in a deli meat sandwich. We are making a deli smoked roast beef that we're going to slice really thin for sandwiches. So check those videos out. Definitely make this. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.